Hey guys, this is Warrior from the Paladin Journal, and welcome back to our movie reviews. This video, we are going to tackle Captain America 4 Brave New World, which is the next big movie for the MCU in terms of its ongoing storylines and setting up the next couple phases for this huge franchise that we've come to love and, just enjoy since the debut of Iron Man in 2008. Now, all of that said, this movie has a lot riding on its shoulders. The MCU has been struggling in the last 2 or 3 years, ever since Endgame, and things have just been way too stressed. Let's just put it that way. You know, Doctor Strange 2, it didn't do too well. Shang-Chi was a decent movie. What else did we have? Captain Marvel 2. It hasn't had its ups and downs, but the reactionary backlash to that movie, which was like 99% undeserved. That sour things overall. We had, multiple short series like WandaVision, which was a mixed bag. Captain America and the Winter Soldier, also a mixed bag. And also a show that was seriously hampered by COVID in like tons of different ways. Black Panther 2, again, that movie had so much baggage in the wake of the passing of Chadwick Boseman, and it's like Quantumania, Ant-Man Quantumania, that might just be one of the worst movies of the franchise. So, and all the controversy that's been going around, with Jonathan Majors and all the reworks and all the rescheduling and everything that's been going on with the MCU for the last 2 years, all of that means that Brave New World has to do a lot of things right. And if it doesn't, the MCU is just going to limp along to the next few movies until we get the big tentpole Avengers outing. That said, you know, I went into this movie not knowing a whole bunch about what was going on. I actively tried to avoid as much spoilers as I could about the movie, but some of the marketing is just too on the nose with the Red Hulk and everything, and Giancarlo Esposito was everywhere as well. But ultimately, it's like you know how to put it. I'm struggling with the words. Excuse me. Um, at best, I can say that this was a decent movie, but you know, there's some things that the movie does right. It carries on the legacy of Steve Rogers in a really good way, but also it is still dealing with the baggage that Sam Wilson has on his shoulders with regards to that legacy. And the movie, like I said, it's trying to do so much, and it just ends up being, jack of all trades, master of none kind of deal. So, anyways, I'm going to go into the review now, and there's going to be a whole bunch of spoilers for the movie. So, if you haven't seen the movie yet, you know, please do, and do not watch the rest of the video if you haven't seen it, because I'm going to be talking about spoilers, and I don't want to, make you guys have a bad experience at the movies. If it's, knowledge that's coming from me and it stars your experience or whatever. So just be aware of that. Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. The movie just jumps straight into things, and it's a really odd opening as well, because what it does is it just shows us Thunderbolt Ross, who is the father of Betty Ross, who used to be the girlfriend of Bruce Banner. We just jump straight into things, and they show him winning the presidential election in the wake of everything that the Avengers did in Endgame. Bringing back all the people that Thanos had you know flipped away, and it's like, okay, like it it's kind of like a cold open, you know, but it's not as engaging as some of the others we've seen for a lot of the movies, because it's like, okay, here's Thunderbolt Ross winning. He does this weird speech. You can see Harrison Ford is a bit uncomfortable with his acting, and oh, boom, there's a time skip, and okay, off to the races we go. It was like, it was disorienting, and it didn't help me ease in to the character of Thunderbolt Ross. It's like, yeah, you They really could have handled it a lot better, but there have been rumors that a lot of the movie, it underwent a lot of reshoots when they had to adjust from Kang to Doomsday and all of that, shenanigans with everything else that was going on. So I guess this is a product of that, but it was just weird, especially in the current climate and everything. And he's like, we need to stick together and, we need to move forward, message of peace, message of unity and everything. But if you have been around comics for a while, if you have some knowledge of what kind of a character General Ross has been for a number of years, or decades even at this point, if you've seen The Incredible Hulk, if you've seen the Hulk movie, so there's two movies, one with Eric Bana, which is the original one, which a lot of people are familiar with, and then there's the one with what's his name, the guy from Norton. Ed Norton. Yeah, there we go. Ed Norton. Both are good movies, I feel, especially the Ed Norton one. But it's like it's just weird. And we just jump straight into things. And okay, so here's if you have not okay, I'll say this. If you have not watched Captain America and the Winter Soldier, which was like a 6 episode miniseries, if you have not watched that one, you're going to be really confused about what's going on. Because in that way, all you've seen is at the end of Endgame, Steve Rogers gives the shield to Sam and is like, "Okay, you're going to be Captain America now." And now we have Sam as Captain America. He's fully, legit. He's fully trained and everything, and he has his own sidekick who's taken up the mantle of Falcon. And it's like, whoa, what is going on? And even General Ross himself, or President Ross now, the actors have changed. The previous actor, I believe he died a few years ago, and Harrison Ford was his recast. And so that is the baggage coming in. And they even make a quip early on in the movie when Sam and Ross meet, and Sam says, still getting used to the new look, and Ross says it was lose the mustache or lose the election. So we're just like, okay, so it's like, they're trying to do all this, like, the joke kind of commentary that was popularized so much with the earlier movies, but it kind of feels ham-fisted, and it's just like, okay, what? That's pretty much the first 15, 20 minutes of the movie. And what really bothered me was that they just jump straight into things. The assumption is that you've watched pretty much everything. You've watched everything leading up to Endgame. You've watched Captain America: The Winter Soldier. You've watched everything else, probably Secret Invasion as well, and all those other things. The assumption is that you've seen the Incredible Hulk, the Ed Norton movie, because this one is a sequel to that, as much as this is a sequel to Endgame and Captain America: The Winter Soldier series. So there's like so much baggage coming in, knowledge that you have to understand what the whole movie is about. And the movie itself, Brave New World, it doesn't give you all those tools to understand because it throws you straight into the deep end and it expects you to make sense of everything, which is, one of the big flaws of the movie. And then, of course, the big thing, we know that the end villain is going to be Red Hulk. We know it's going to be President Ross, and everything else is just a complete sideshow. And literally, one of the villains, played by Giancarlo Esposito, he's called Sidewinder. He leads an organization called Serpent or something, and it's a complete mess. There are three different villains in this movie. There's President Ross's Red Hulk, there's Giancarlo Esposito's Sidewinder, and then there's this other, brainy guy, Dr. Samuel Stearns. I don't believe they ever give him a villain moniker in the movie, and I don't remember what that character is called either. Maybe the Thinker, but I think that might actually be the name of the DC version, actually. But whatever. Dr. Samuel Stearns, uh, he is one of the villains of the movie, and you know this is just like it's a continuation from what's it called? The Incredible Hulk. So there's so much coming in. You're expected to know all these things. And it's just like, yeah, I'm not really feeling this whole thing, you know? And the movie, like I said, the movie doesn't give you the tools to make sense of everything because there are so many new characters, there are so many plot lines going on, and it's a lot of it is a complete mess. You're moving straight from one set piece to set piece and another set piece, and then Isaiah Bradley, which is like, okay, who the hell is Isaiah Bradley? If you've not seen the miniseries, Captain America and Winter Soldier, you're not gonna understand who Isaiah Bradley is or why this guy has had the super soldier serum. Like, what's that whole backstory? Which, it's like, yeah, making Captain America Winter Soldier, making that a series instead of a movie was a huge downside. And especially because, they seem to stretch it out so much. And whoever was a villain in that show, it really doesn't translate to what everything else going on in the movie. So it's like, yeah, okay, like what? And there's like characters are doing things, and none of it really makes logical sense. Like we have President Ross, on a whim, he's flying straight to Tokyo, he's flying to the Pacific, and he's on an aircraft carrier or whatever, and I don't want to give away too much of the plot, but suffice to say that, a lot of the connective tissue of this movie, it's missing. Like, yeah, if you look at it, just like you take a step back and you're like, okay, I'm gonna look at everything and okay, this happens, this happens, this happens. Yeah, it's a lot of cool stuff. And also, related into all of that, they're trying to mix in the ending of the Eternals, which was supposed to be one of their big trilogies uh, when they introduced the Eternals characters. But, the movie didn't do it too well. And then they're like, okay, we're going to nix all future Eternals projects. And oh, look, we have the X-Men IP back. We have the movie rights back. And we're just going to throw adamantium into this movie and we're going to talk how it's better and so much more cooler than vibranium. And it's like, oh, okay, so like you're like literally my head was spinning. So I have like I'm going to summarize again, and I think this is important when we're talking about this movie. You have to remember the what happened in Endgame, Avengers Endgame. You have to remember what happened in The Incredible Hulk. You have to remember what happened in Captain America Winter Soldier. You have to remember what happened in the Black Panther movies. You have to remember what happened in Eternals. You have to know the history of the X-Men. You have to know about what else was there? Yeah, I think actually that covers all that. So that's like so many things you have to remember. And it's like an average viewer just doesn't have that bandwidth anymore. Like me, I've pretty much watched everything there is with the MCU, barring maybe, a few outliers like What If season 2 and 3, and a few other things like that. I've watched pretty much everything, and even like still, my head is spinning because this movie is like, okay, we need to cram as much as possible because there's going to be so many outshoots from this, and we need to set everything up. But then again, you get to the end of the movie, and there's just only one post-credit scene, and that's the final post-credit scene, which seemingly sets up something else, but not really. And then you're just like you just left cold. If you're a longtime viewer of the MCU, you're just like, okay, that was kind of cool, but what happens now? Like, yes, the story is decent. It's about manipulation, it's about revenge, it's about honor, it's about loyalty, it's about legacies, it's about people coming together, which is like, pretty much the boilerplate themes of the MCU in pretty much every movie. But what is Brave New World doing that is different from all those other movies? And the answer is not a whole lot. Like, yes, Sam Wilson proves himself to be a worthy successor to Steve Rogers. But, you know, when somebody keeps telling him, "Oh, you're not Steve Rogers," the what's his name, Captain, the villain from the Ultron movie. No, the villain. Sorry, not Ultron movie. The villain from the Civil War movie, Avengers Civil War, and Captain America Winter Soldier, the big guy who manipulates all the events, he, makes this comment to Sam that, yeah, you're not Steve Rogers. There's never gonna be another Steve Rogers. Steve Rogers was a very singular being. And then in this movie also, someone's telling him, you're not Steve Rogers. Shut the fuck up. Essentially. You know, that's like, yeah, I'm not sure that's really the message that the MC needs to send to Sam, or people who are inspired by Sam, people who are inspired by Anthony Mackie playing that role, that constantly comparing him to a character who a character and an actor who we have grown to love and like so much, and he has big shoes to fill. So constantly comparing him devalues his contribution. It devalues the character and the actor who came before, and it's just like, like, what's the goal, right? Like, critical thinking cap on. It's like, yeah, I understand that they want to show some character growth and everything, but it's a really ham-fisted way to do that. Sam Wilson does everything that Steve Rogers would have done. He goes straight into the thick of the fight. He stands up for his friends. He stands up for his family. He stands up for the country that he served. He's a soldier, and he is going to do the right thing no matter what, irrespective of whether it costs him, you know, everything, you could say. And he's also a really kick-ass fighter. But of course, you know, he doesn't have the super soldier serum. So when he's going up against the Red Hulk, it's like, yeah, kinda not sure about this. And then, there's such a distinct lack of so many other characters that could have shown up in this movie. Like, the biggest absence in the movie is Bucky. He shows up for like maybe 5 seconds. Bucky doesn't do anything in the movie. Bruce Banner is nowhere to be seen. Jennifer Walters is nowhere to be seen. Jennifer Walters doesn't even like get a mention at all, I think, you know? And it's just like there's so much, like, you could actually be setting up so much. You could be connecting to so much of the other stuff in a very organic way, but you're not doing it. You're just dropping shit to just like, connect and move on. You're not actually building up anything. So it makes all these disparate elements that are really cool in the movie, it just makes them look stupid. So Sam, he's pretty much a carbon copy of Steve Rogers, except he doesn't have the super soldier serum. So he's objectively weaker. There's a new guy who's the Falcon, and played by a really cool guy. I don't recall his name off the top of my head right now, but he's a really good actor. I've seen him in a bunch of stuff. He does a really good job in this movie as well, but he just pops out of nowhere, and he's like, they show him as being Sam's like best buddy or whatever, but it's like there's been no build up, so it kind of rings hollow. You know, President Ross is there, and immediately from the very first scene, you're expecting him to be a scumbag, and he turns out to be a scumbag, like again and again and again. It's like, come on, guys, give it a break already. Like, as a semi-informed viewer, I know Ross is not a stand-up guy, you know, but you don't have to throw it in my face, like in every major reveal that he's a scumbag. And we have characters that are just floating by and not really doing anything. This was like such a self-contained movie. It's like almost like, okay, we're just putting a pause on everything. It's like, yeah, we have so much information that's coming in and so much information that has to go out, but we're going to pretend that this is Captain America First Avenger and not, like movie number 30 in a huge series or whatever the actual number is for this movie. So, yeah, that wasn't all that good. The visuals in the movie were really good for the most part. The fights were really good, choreographed well. But, again, you just keep thinking, man, if only Sam had the super soldier serum, he wouldn't get his ass beat like that so many times and, um, one-on-one combat like that. It's like, yeah, Steve Rogers would have done better. It's like it's in the back of your mind. You can't escape that comparison. Constant, again and again. The secondary villains like Sidewinder, they were weak as hell, man. I swear, Giancarlo Esposito is one of the best actors in television and movies right now. But this movie, it doesn't give him any kind of, substantive latch to hold on to. He's just like this, he's supposed to be this really cool, badass villain that the story's trying to build up, but he just ends up being like again, he's like a B movie villain. It's like, yeah, that's not what I wanted to see at all. It's like all the hype went into Harrison Ford and the Red Hulk. We got to see a little bit of the Sidewinder character, but it's like I don't know how to describe it really. It's like, I feel let down by the movie in so many different ways. And then of course the Samuel Stearns character, like yeah, there's some really good build up to what he is, who he is in the movie, how he matters to all these other characters. But some of the storytelling decisions made about how he ends up manipulating everything and whatnot, that fell flat. I am someone who's watched a lot of, you know, cop shows, someone who's watched a lot of, even legal shows. There's in the context of this movie, there's the NCIS shows, there's the JAG show that was there, and I've been watching SEAL Team recently with David Boreanaz. Lately, seen so many special forces movies and all that stuff, and there are things that happen in this movie which don't make a lick of sense. Like specifically speaking, there's one scene in the second half where Seal character, who is a friend to Sam, he is in the middle of some training and his phone rings in the middle of the drill. He just like straight picks up the phone, he walks out of the drill area and he takes this call. And I'm like, that that is not supposed to happen. It's like this guy is in the middle of a freaking drill with his squad and he just has his cell phone on him and he takes the call and he calls the drill in the middle of it and he just walks off out of the training area, takes his call, something happens, and it's like, well, I feel dumb. And there's like so many other different things, that are going on in the movie. And it's like, it makes you think, it's like, where is the quality control in this movie? You know, where was the, I don't know what the technical terms are, but it's like, who did anyone give this movie the script? Did anyone give the script a few final passes to see that okay, everything connects properly. This makes sense. This makes sense. These characters are behaving realistically and everything, because that's kind of what you expect to see. But yeah, I mean, it's like they've given up. You know, like the writers were just like, yeah, we're just gonna write the story, and we're just going to like phone it in basically. It's a Captain America movie. It's gonna do gangbusters. Apparently, as of a couple days ago, the movie had like the second highest opening of any Captain America movie, which is like, yeah, well, you know, okay, fine. It's like they're getting complacent. The directors are getting complacent. The writers are getting complacent. Kevin Feige is getting complacent. Everyone else is getting complacent. Everyone except the actors. The actors are still turning in their best work, but the material they have, it no longer reflects the high quality that we've generally come to accept from the MCU. And that, that's what ends up costing the movie so much, in my opinion. Because, sure, you can have great actors, you can have a decent story, you can have, great visuals and everything, but it all has to work together. It all has to come together into a cohesive whole, which this movie doesn't. We're focusing on so many different villains that the main villain, he ends up getting the short stick. His reveal towards the end in the climax, his reveal is amazing. I thought that was done really, really well, but then it kind of goes off the rails and it becomes kind of like a feel feel good kind of movie. The power of positivity is going to stop the Red Hulk, essentially. Which is like, yeah, no, what the Hulk that's not what the Hulk is about. Bruce Banner, even though you can have tender moments, you can have emotional moments with the character, but the Red Hulk, President Ross, General Ross, Thunderbolt Ross, this guy is supposed to be, kind of unhinged, and stopping him with the power of positivity, that's yeah, yeah, it didn't make sense to me. And then it was like, again, they spent so much time on other things that this final conflict in the movie, it starts a little too late, it ends way too soon, and then the movie ends. So you just left wanting more, and not in a good way. You just feel like, oh, that was like an hour and a half of, average stuff. It's whatever. And, a bit of a tangent here. I'm in India, specifically Delhi, and I absolutely hated the fact that this movie was not shown on a 2D screen in English. I was fully expecting there to be a 2D showing of the movie, but across the entire state, not a single English 2D screening. Sure, there was in Hindi, but I don't watch English movies in Hindi. I don't like to watch dub stuff like that. It takes away from the experience, especially since I speak fluent English and, it's like, yeah, I had to watch it in 3D. I overpaid for the movie. I overpaid with snacks and everything. And I just didn't leave fulfilled. I'd rather watch Thor 2, The Dark World again than watch this movie in the theaters. And I consider Thor 2 to be one of the worst movies of the franchise entire. So, there is that. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I can say about the movie. I know my thoughts have been, scatterbrained throughout the video, but if I had to sum things up, you know, in a nice package for you, I would say the movie makes a lot of good effort, but it is undone by the fact that it is doing way too much. The story should have been much more focused on a few characters, definitely mm, a fewer number of villains in this movie. And they should have focused more on the actual connective tissue within all these storylines. Like I said, you have to have had watched like 6, 7 different movies and TV shows to understand everything that is going on in this movie. There's so many different new characters, and none of it gels together into a cohesive whole. So there's that. And there's some glaring, obvious, absences from the movie, which, it's like, it just makes in the back of my mind just going like, okay, so, it's the problem of there's like 20 different superheroes living in New York, but when you're reading their stories in comics form, or even, when you're watching the shows and you're watching the movies and everything is so contained. You know, there's no interaction, there's no crossover unless there's some big tentpole thing going on. And it's like, yeah, it shouldn't have been like that. We should have seen more of a lot of other characters that we didn't get to see, and they should have had Sam be a much more confident character because if people around him keep questioning his ability, it makes him look weak. And that's not what he is. That's not who he's meant to be. And certainly that's not what the intention of the movie is, should be, objectively speaking. You should be building up your hero to be somebody who can handle everything and not, just keep pummeling him down, playing mind games on him like this all the time. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Captain America: Brave New World. It's at best it's a decent movie, uh, but I would say not really worth watching in the cinemas. Wait for it to just come on streaming on Disney Plus or whatever your choice of medium is for streaming. So yeah, that's it for me, guys. Apologies that this was such a negative video, but I was expecting it to be much more positive about this, and my experience just wasn't that good at all. So trying to be honest with you guys about everything, and that's all there is. So hopefully, whatever the next movie ends up being, I think it's Thunderbolts or I maybe Fantastic Four, but that's like a few months from now. So keep an eye out on this space, and I'll be covering those movies as well as they happen. So in the meantime, just like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you soon. Cheers. Bye.